研讨会全程参与者可享新书《教会婚姻中的变与常》优惠。新书的主编者白宁美女士多年前召集神学、牧灵、伦理及科技的专家，就当代婚姻中的各层面问题进行反思及讨论，出版了一本论文集。南怀仁研究中心特别请原书的主编者白宁美女士选择了其中11篇适合华人社会的文章进行翻译出版，就是今天介绍的新书《教会婚姻中的变与常》。白宁美女士也特别希望有机会参与今天的研讨会，因此透过远端视讯连线将为我们致辞。现在我们就透过影像与此书主编者白宁美女士相见。
Good morning. So here is we are here. We have been the whole day. Your morning video was quite well received. Everyone was really impacted, and we have a nice presentation and answer to the video. So we are all here now, expecting you. We are also starting our afternoon, evening, and then there we are. You are starting a new day. So thank you very much for this time, and now is your time. So thank you. You are there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and a very good afternoon to you. I hope you had a very fruitful morning. And I have the morning now, and you the afternoon. You have spring going towards the summer, and we have here in Brussels autumn and going into the winter.
Wow.
And still we can communicate with each other, and it is for the first time that I even have the chance to see you in person, because when I gave the talk which you have heard this morning, I had to speak in an empty room, so without any participants. So this was a great challenge. Therefore, I'm very pleased to see you so active and ready for listening. I was asked to give a little introduction how the book you have translated came to work. And yes, I can tell you, when I planned to write this book as a surprise, in fact, for my husband, for our golden wedding anniversary in July 2017, I started reflecting on various stages of our life during our 50 years of togetherness. We were married on July the 21st in 1967, in my home village near Cologne in Germany. My husband at that time was 33 old and I was 22. And during our honeymoon, and of course also during many years, we thought that these many years we were totally convinced that our marriage preferably and wishfully should and could continue forever. Yes, we promised each other to stay together for better and worse, in sickness and in health. And I have to tell you, and it was exactly how it turned out. We had many happy years together, but also less happy years together, which is normal because life goes in ups and downs, but each time you have the chance to mature, to grow, to be creative. But unfortunately, biologically, fruitfulness was not granted to us since we did not have children. But we learned that God had other plans with our life. He gave us the freedom to say yes, nevertheless. And we embraced what we saw as our mission with the fullness of our heart, without knowing what could be the consequences. And so we built and shaped our marriage for 50 years. It was not always easy, I have to say, especially for me as a woman not having children, but together we could accept it. Insofar, this book presents in a very modest way where we have found our spiritual children. Spirituality, by the way, is and was always very important to us and helped us to give sense and especially deepness to our life. If you see the title, you see 4 words which have, each word has a very specific meaning. Marriage, of course, but also constancy and change, as also change in togetherness. It is an overview of how we understood our marital and spiritual matrimony. Let me go through the different words of the title one by one. So I start with the first word, marriage. From the beginning of the marriage until its end, when life draws to a close and one day one passes away, the distinct stages in marriage each have their own special expression and leave also their marks. But what do we see on television very often or in magazines? The television programs that fills a whole evening with action-filled dramas about marriages that break down through violence or lack of respect. And there is also these glossy magazines that present a glamorous marriage, that presents glamorous marriage couples whose quarrels in the end leads again to marriage breakdown. This kind of marriage, I have to say, cast a huge shadow over people's ability to enter into a marriage. So don't take that examples, because it even is a false world. Both joy and suffering are a part of every life, hence also the marriage. Life is perfectly horizontal. It always has its dynamics, and then sometimes it goes up and then it goes down and it goes up again. But life and the life path of marriage is therefore a process of maturing over decades, so that we can recollect again and again during our marital lifetime together on our moments of happiness, but also on the times when we coped together with our sufferings, which is very normal to life. A life without suffering and without joy does not exist. But in the end, you always have to look for the joy. And this is the focus where we can processually go forward to it. So some sufferings require both partners to change course. And that is the dynamic of marriage, although the structures of society and of family can make this as a difficult task. But it is a task, and which is more than worthwhile than to cut each time with divorces and restart and then cut and restart. So you never build up a tradition which makes marriage so interesting and so lovable. Now I come to my second name, and that is constancy. Constancy However, when crisis offers various possibility to a married couple of giving an affirmative turnaround to their mission, here they must explore anew the nature of change and learn to appreciate its creative possibilities as a shared growth in change. Perhaps this sounds for you a bit too positive, but I have lived it up for 50 years and I know what I'm talking about. Change is so important in life because when I met my husband, after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, he was not anymore the same person than when I met him 50 years ago, and so vice versa. I was not the same person my husband met, and we met in London, a beautiful town, and we really enjoyed our time there. Still, it is true that not every marriage succeeds in coping with this challenge, but most married people desire this constancy in the changes and chances of time and want to master this challenge creatively. I know it from literature because I'm working already for 30 years in this domain. Academically, in many universities, we publish and we give conferences, and of course I have to read a lot about the different kinds of marriages also, and it is still in the European survey that more than 95% who starts marriage want to stay until their deaths. But of course, it's not all of them succeed, but this wish is absolutely there. So we have to help each other in this, how you come to overcome difficulties during your lifespan. And so I come to my third word in the title, change. It is the life that one experiences is really vibrant. Over the years, the man or the woman, one married, changes. Therefore, communication, the fact of really being able to talk, but also to listen to your partner, has an intentional, essential significance. Through this tool, partners enrich and can enrich each other even more with each phase of life, even if they live it differently, because husband and wife can help each other throughout their marriage to become another self. They continue to move together from step to step and experience again and again in their innermost being what they have received in their relationship. You are not giving only, but you are receiving. And you have to be sensible to listen to and to reflect with your heart and mind, what have you received in your life? Therefore, communication also involves remembering. We do this not enough. Remembering through, for example, letters with real paper, and not something which is in the cloud via WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever other tools. No, but really something which you can hold in your hand, written a letter to each other, or souvenirs such as photos. Look them together and just telling stories to each other so that you remember your happy days. And that gives energy also to not to forget and not to go down and down always in your difficulties, but come up and remember what and why you have been married. It generates namely a thankfulness, thankful that leads to love. And there's a special sentence of Chesterton which I really love, and that is, the test of all happiness is gratitude. To be grateful for that what one has received. And the fourth word in the title is togetherness. Here, this picture, you will see man and woman. I hope you can recognize it. And man and woman as a community, of course here only 4, but we as married people, we are a community and we can help each other. And the artist of this thing is she took it from the book of St. Paul, the letter to St. Paul to the Galatians. Carry each other burdens. So one is leaning and the other one is helping. And this goes up and down, helping and leaning towards each other. And that is that is something which occurs in my book very deep in my heart, and that is carry each other burdens as husband and wife, as man and woman, namely together in the dialogue with God, which is the deepest of all conversational positions. Once we have experienced this from the life, which has become a prayer because we have broadened our perspective. We experienced that He loves us. Not only we love Him, but He loves us first. And this opens up another vital perspective that helps us to start each time afresh the conversation with our partner. Yes, I have called this book also an album amicorum. So with the different articles of dear friends with whom I have worked for 30 years, more than 30 years even. So this book that has its origin in a profound gratitude. In particular, I have decided this work with great affection to my late husband who died in 2018. I thank him for the 50 years that we have spent together, enriching years in which we have been permitted to think and to act together in a creative way, and well, in theology and spirituality, in Jewish-Christian dialogue, as well as in question in bioethic. And I have to say, my husband was a businessman, and when he had time, he joined me immediately because he was fascinated by all these topics. And so we could do and reflect together on it. I come to my end, and the love of my husband and I shared allows us to grow and to mature. This shared process forms a constancy that weathers even in difficult times, but also in beautiful years we had together. And so that was the birth of this book. I thank you for listening, and if ever you have a question, you may contact me via email, because I have a huge crowd of people who have many questions for their education for their marital life, and yes, also parents and children. So thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much. And then maybe we can have one or two questions that will be translated by our Ms. Lin Jinxiong, that can help translating, and then we will, he also will translate what we can, because sometimes this vocabulary is very complicated, but he's a master. And then...
If the question is short, that helps.
Yes. Any question here? Regarding this morning, or maybe something that we have, we want to ask after the whole day and our sharing? Questions?
Yes, you will be tired.
Or you can trust.
Here, Shioni.
我想请问白女士，就是他们的婚姻生活当中最困难的时候是什么样的经验
？There's a sister over here who would like to ask you about the marriage. What is the most difficult time in your marriage lifetime? The most difficult moment that you have experienced in your marriage? Short question.
Yes, thank you for asking this. I can't say that there is one specific, but I think generally it is in the change of life, because you are not standing still. Your life goes on and you go on, and then suddenly during the time you discover that it has perhaps different rhythms. That one is perhaps slower, the other is perhaps quicker. You see and you experience that indeed there is a change. And it is very difficult sometimes to recognize again your wife or your husband as you have met him many years ago. But this is natural. And never one is talking about it, that it belongs to life to change. But it is an art how you cope with changes. Therefore, it is the conversation, the dialogue, making prime time for husband and wife, not to exchange informations, but this is what my husband and I did for 30 years, more than 30 years. Each 2 weeks we met. We had our prime time. And in this prime time, we had a little catalogue of 3 questions to give us both the possibility to enter into the thoughts and into the heart of each one. And this was a sacred time. This was a holy time. It was like a holy place which we created, where we very confidentially and with great respect listened to each other in order to not to live apart, but to come each time more together. And that is what religious life in the very first monastic life they had until today, which calls the chapter. So the monks and the sisters, they can come together once a week. We did it every 2 weeks because of our busy life. And this is a beautiful example which one can integrate also into married life. I can tell you much more about it, but I keep it short.
Yes. Now we have translation.
Yes, we need translation. I speak in Chinese now.
Yes.
他刚刚回答说，他说在生命的困难其实很难去 点出生命的哪一个阶段哪一件事情啊。他说这个过程，婚姻的共同的旅程，这个是一个艺术。这30年来，他跟他的先生都在努力的彼此理解。他说他每2个星期，他会跟先生一起坐下来，进行灵修对话。这个时间对他们来说是非常重要的。那每一次对话当中呢，他们都会提出3个问题啊。这个3个问题是让他们彼此能够进入彼此的对方的核心啊，不是随便的啊。对他们来说，这个对话是一个神圣的时间，是一个神圣的空间，就像这也是彼此非常私密的时间，彼此的分享、聆听。这个聆听会让彼此的关系更加的亲密跟接近，而不是更远离彼此。他把这个比喻成那个隐修生活啊，修士跟修女们每一次都需要有一个省察的时间啊。他把这个省察的时间放在他的婚姻里面，所以这个就是他跟他们彼此整合自己的生命啊。他大概讲了这样，他说如果还要再讲的话，可以继续讲下去。OK, I've explained the summary of what you said just now, so I think they understand well about this, or we can ask them whether they have more questions.
Maybe because of time, last more question. Yes.
好。那我就讲中文哈，因为我们有很好的翻译。那个我的问题是，因为白女士她所讲的，她有讲到，就是说，其实西方跟东方跟亚洲的在面对婚姻的状况，可能因为文化差异会有点不太一样。那我的问题是呢，就是白女士所提的，还是在一个信仰基础的层面上。但是以台湾来讲，我们大部分是民间信仰，或者是没有信仰，那教友是比较少。那所以，因为我们不会只是希望帮助教会内的这种夫妇，那如果面对的是一个信仰不一样，或者是他们当中其实没有这个灵修基础、共同基础的人，那应该用什么样的方式？因为刚才白女士讲的这个方式，可能比较适合有共同的信仰基础的。对，谢谢。
Well, this question is about is deeper a little bit. It's about the difference between the Western and Eastern culture. From your text or the articles that or the remarks that you made is more on the common religious background, spiritual background of the couple. But if we apply it into our context in Asia, because we are coping with the pluralistic cultures, as you or you are aware of this. And so the question is, what is the suggestions for us to cope, to apply your understanding or your knowledge about the marriage, which for us is more based on the Christianity, to be applied into our context in Asia, which where there are more religions exist in our context, in the pluralistic context. So what is your suggestions and your remarks on this?
Yes, this is a very interesting question indeed, and yes, perhaps when I talked this morning, your morning, perhaps you could understand it more in a Christian way, but it is not entirely, I would say, just for Christians, because also here in Europe, we are dealing with many directions of religious direction. Yes, we are coping not only with Christianity, Judaism, and Muslims, but we are also coping with many others, even with atheists and people who are even not atheists, but are not believing because they never had the chance to do it. And still there are, and we all, if you are a believer or not a believer in whatever religion, one thing the humankind is always looking for is the more sense. What gives sense of my life? Why am I here? What is my mission here in this? And the more you are approaching towards age, the louder these questions are coming. And I have to say, we are sitting, I would say, in the same boat. We are living here even in a very pluralistic way. It is the materialism which is much more important and takes a very important time in your life. So, and still these people are also listening. How do you do this that you are a happy person? How do I come to become happy? What is your secret? So these are questions of curiosity, because they feel here is something, I miss something where I am longing for. So can you share this to me? So I would not entirely, I think you are right, that there is, of course, a big difference between the Eastern world and the Western world, but we always have to look for where do we meet. And human beings are the same. It doesn't matter from where you are coming from. We all have that one wish to learn and to see and to learn from others. What is the sense of your life? And this is what is very important. Now I'm receiving quite some people who have no faith at all, but why are they coming? And why do they desire to talk? Because they have had once, an encounter, and now they want to get to know more about it. So I would say perhaps you put again the glasses on and put perhaps everything, because I am from the Western side of the world. I cannot change myself in that way, but I have reflected on how much we are similar. And so if you read the book, read it perhaps with that glass on. Where do we have exactly the same perception? And what we are longing for? What is deep in my heart? These are the questions of everyone. This would be my short answer to your very good and deep question.
Okay, Mrs. Brenninkmeijer, I tried to deliver what you have said just now. I hope I can do it.
Please
60%,
do it, because I don't hear so often Chinese, so I enjoy it.
Yes, you won't know what is the mystics. 刚刚白女士说啊，她说，确实这个问题是存在的啊，东西方确实是不一样。不过她说，在西方，其实现在的西方也渐渐的有更多元了啊。比方说，现在存在着犹太人啦，那个回教徒啦，还有甚至很多现在越来越多的无神论主义者，甚至是他们有的 不是因为不信天主，而是没有机会听到天主的声音，没有机会认识信仰啊。他说人性基本上都是一样的，人性呢其实都是在寻找意义，都是在寻求我是谁，我有些什么东西啊。这个问题啊，一直就是会跟着你的年龄，随着年龄增长啊，你越老，这个声音就越强啊。他说我们其实东西方都在同一个船上，我们面对的问题都是一样的啊。那人性都是在寻求快乐，我们是在寻求这个意义。那到我们面前来的人都在寻求都是在问这个问题。那他们渴望的是我们可以给他们一些秘诀啊，在婚姻上或在人性上一些秘诀，或者是他们对人性的好奇，也需要寻求我们的到我们这边寻求解答。所以其实我们面对我们辅导的对象，其实就人性上来说都是一样的，他们所渴望的其实就是生命的意义。所以因此东西方是对他来说，他说如果你看了这本书啊，你就会发现我们是有多么的一样我们的共同点其实是很大的哈。当你知道我们我们人性上其实是你会发现我们有我们的共同点啊，那就是说我们会发现我们人性是渴望我们内心深处是怎么样子，我们每个人都渴望看到我们内心深处是长成怎么样的啊。我希望我刚刚因为我希望能够照实的刚刚他说的哈，就翻译出来。Yes, Mrs. Brenninkmeijer, I have tried my best to deliver what I said just now. I know that something missing, but someone will make it up later. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for your time, for this opportunity, and I think it has been enlightening, and I hope that we may repeat in the future without COVID around, and you can come here to visit us, Taiwan again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I was 30 years ago in your university with my husband, and I had a very good and very positive experience with it. So thank you so much, and I wish you a good evening.
Thank you and blessings. Thank you.
谢谢白宁美女士跟范凯琳神父。接下来我们